The film opens with the haunting image of a spinning music box. A young girl, Maro, covered in blood, stares silently at the ballerina twirling inside. It's a moment frozen in time, a memory that whispers of innocence shattered. We see flashes of her father, loving, calm, fiercely protective. He playfully reminds her that she's growing up too fast and jokes that she'll be in trouble when he returns if she grows much more. As he brushes his teeth, she watches the music box dance, unaware that death is creeping closer. From beneath the water, a group of armed men emerges, silent and deadly. They breach the family's estate, killing the guards with precision. Her father, a trained warrior bearing the tattoo, he conquers who conquers himself, immediately senses the threat. Smoke fills the air as he engages the invaders, using every ounce of strategy and brute force. He reaches Eve, calmly reminding her what they practiced, how to hide, how to survive. She vanishes into a hidden tunnel while he returns to fight, but the odds are against him. Despite being vastly outnumbered, Eve's father fights with the precision of a trained killer, setting off smoke screens, moving like a shadow, and dispatching attackers with brutal efficiency. But it's not enough. As he fights to protect his daughter, the attackers close in, and a new figure arrives, the Chancellor. Cold, calm, and calculating, he strides into the chaos like a man who's seen too many wars. He accuses Eve's father of betrayal, of turning against their ancient order and being responsible for the death of a woman they once both loved. But it's not just revenge they want. They're after Eve. The Chancellor offers a cruel ultimatum: surrender Eve or die and doom them both. Her father refuses to speak, but before the moment can stretch too far, Eve, watching from the shadows, steps out, breaking her silence. One of the attackers sees her. Her father reacts instantly, opening fire and taking several enemies down before being overpowered. But Eve doesn't hesitate. She grabs a gun, just as she once trained, and fires, saving her father's life. The two flee through the tunnel, explosions lighting the night behind them. From a nearby hill, Eve and her wounded father watch their childhood home go up in flames. The Chancellor, having stayed outside, survives the blast and stares coldly at the fire. Eve clutches her father as he collapses, bloodied and broken. With his last breath, he apologizes. For what, we don't know. She sobs, refusing to let go. That night seals her fate. Years later, Winston Scott visits Eve. He tells her the truth. Her father didn't just die fighting. He died trying to give her a chance at a better life. Winston offers her an opportunity to claim her father's legacy and join the Ruska Roma, a secret society of assassins and dancers. Without a word, Eve accepts. Soon, she meets the director, a chilling woman who offers Eve more than ballet. She offers her vengeance wrapped in discipline. The dance becomes a tool of transformation. Mentored by Noi, Eve begins her training to become Kikimora, a protector, an avenger, like her father. She's pushed to her limits. Ballet and blood become her language. Grace meets violence. And Eve, she doesn't want peace. She wants power. Inside the cold stone walls of Ruska Roma, Eve's training intensifies. She wakes before dawn, dances until her toes bleed, then trains in combat until her knuckles crack. Her mentor, Noi, is relentless, pushing her, provoking her, forcing her to let go of fear. Her father wasn't just a Kikimora, he was one of the best. Now the same expectation falls on her shoulders. But Eve doesn't just carry the weight of legacy, she carries the pain of loss, of knowing her father died for something larger. Among her fellow trainees is Tatiana, skilled and warm, who tries to befriend her. Tatiana praises Eve's speed and strength, but Eve isn't looking for compliments. She's looking to kill. Her most grueling test comes when she's assigned a mission: protect someone at all costs. She fails, again and again. Each failure chips away at her pride, but builds something else: resolve. Noi scolds her. You're still fighting by their rules? You want to win? Fight by your own. Eventually, Eve succeeds. But when Tatiana suddenly disappears, Eve learns the truth. She lacked the instinct to kill. Eve's final trial is brutal in its simplicity. Assemble a gun and fire it without hesitation. It echoes the moment she saved her father. This time, there's no one to protect but herself. Coldly, calmly, she completes the task. No flinch, no fear. The director watches without emotion. Eve has proven herself. She is ready. Not long after, Eve catches sight of a young John Wick being marked by the director. Curious, she asks about him. He gives her a warning. Walk away while you still can. But Eve has no intention of stopping. Her first mission awaits. She's sent to protect Ella, the daughter of a powerful ally, at a lavish party buzzing with danger behind the glitter. When the attack begins, Eve wastes no time. She cuts through the attackers like a dancer slicing air, elegant and lethal. But one man escapes with Ella. Eve follows, grabs a hammer, and beats him down until he stops moving. The girl is safe. Back at Ruska Roma, Eve is honored with a new tattoo. She has earned the title of Kikimora, a weapon with purpose. Years pass. Eve completes missions with ruthless precision, each one adding to her legend. But her past is never far behind. During one operation, her car is struck by an ambush. She survives, kills the attacker, but something stops her cold. A tattoo, the exact same mark once worn by the men who murdered her father. She stares at it in disbelief before slicing off the attacker's hand as proof. She returns to Ruska Roma with fire in her eyes. The director, more amused than surprised, finally reveals the truth. The mark belongs to an ancient cult, older, more secretive, and far more dangerous than anything Ruska Roma has ever faced. They're not just assassins, they're zealots, and they don't forget. Eve can't let it go. She travels to the Continental Hotel, where she meets Winston again. She tells him flat out, "I'm hunting the ones who killed my father." Winston warns her, "The need to know got us kicked out of Eden." Eve replies without hesitation, "Then I'm ready to be cast out." She is done waiting. It's time to start a war. Eve's next lead takes her to Prague. Her target is Daniel Pine, a man with a $2 million bounty on his head, and possible connections to the cult. She checks into room 314. Daniel is in 315. She quickly discovers he's not alone. He has a daughter, Ella, who reminds Eve of herself. Quiet, watchful, carrying fear behind her eyes. Daniel explains, the cult isn't after him because of who he is, but because of who she is. Ella is the target. They want leverage, a legacy, something that can't be erased. Then it happens. The cult strikes. The hotel turns into a battlefield. Eve takes them on alone, clearing room after room in a chaotic ballet of bullets and blood. When the dust settles, Daniel is fatally wounded. Before he dies, he begs Eve to keep Ella safe. But Eve fails. She wakes up later, bruised and bleeding. Ella is gone. Meanwhile, Lena, a high-ranking operative of the cult, reports to the Chancellor. She doesn't know who Eve is yet, but she knows this woman is relentless, and she's coming for them. Back at the Continental, Eve pleads her case. She was attacked first, and thus didn't violate the code. They let her live but strip her of protection. She checks out and tracks a lead to a weapons dealer. While inspecting gear, a hit squad storms in. Guns blaze, grenada fly. Eve kills them all and escapes, barely alive. The shopkeeper, impressed, gives her a whisper of a rumor. The cult has a stronghold in the mountains. She drives out in a Mustang, the snow crunching beneath her tires. On the way, she stops in a quaint mountain town. Something draws her inside, a music box, just like the one from her childhood. But the nostalgia turns cold. The coffee shop is a trap. A towering enforcer attacks her. The fight is savage, raw, and primal. She kills him, but more cultists rush in. Even the waitress is one of them. Eve fights like a storm, taking down every last one. But it's not over. A sniper spots her, reports back, she's still alive. And suddenly, the entire town becomes her enemy. Everyone is a weapon. Everyone is a threat. Surrounded and outnumbered, Eve is finally captured. She wakes in chains, bloodied but unbroken. Lena enters the room and confirms Eve's identity. She is the ghost the cult has been chasing. Then the Chancellor arrives, calm and composed, revealing a horrifying truth. Eve is his daughter. That makes Lena her half-sister. Shock ripples through the room. Lena confronts the Chancellor in disbelief. She thought Eve had died long ago. But the truth is more complicated. Eve was taken from the cult as a baby, raised by her father to undo the darkness he once served. Eve argues that he gave her something Lena never had. Choice, a life. But the Chancellor has no use for sentiment. He orders them both executed. Grenades explode, and in the chaos, Lena is mortally wounded. As she dies in Eve's arms, she whispers, "I missed you every day." Then she's gone. Eve snaps. Fueled by grief and fury, she tears through the Chancellor's guards with merciless precision. She radios him directly, "This doesn't end until you're dead." The blood feud is no longer secret. It's war. Eve returns to Ruska Roma, only to find herself exiled. The director, knowing what's coming, sends one last option to stop the bloodshed. John Wick. He tracks Eve down and offers her a way out. Walk away, let it end. But Eve refuses, not until the man who killed her father is dead. Wick doesn't want to kill her, but warns, If she's still alive at midnight, the consequences will be severe. Meanwhile, the Chancellor activates his deadliest play. He mobilizes the entire town, and as civilians become hunters, homes become traps. But Eve charges in anyway. Through walls of flame, clouds of smoke, and a hail of bullets, she fights her way toward the armory. Inside, she faces the Chancellor's top warrior. The duel is brutal, silent, and cinematic. Eve disappears in the smoke, then returns with a flamethrower. Still, the Chancellor won't run. Ella is taken again. Eve hunts the enforcer. This time, he brings fire. She fights with water, but is nearly killed until a sniper's shot saves her. It's Wick, 11:56 p.m. Time's almost up. Eve storms ahead and intercepts the Chancellor just as he tries to flee with Ella. "Nothing will change," he says coldly. Eve raises her weapon. It already did. One shot. Justice served. Later, she carries Ella to safety. Daniel, miraculously alive, reunites with his daughter. Winston, ever the realist, warns, "You cut off the head, but the body still moves." In the final moments, Eve sits in a quiet theater, watching a ballerina twirl on stage. Her phone buzzes. A global bounty has been placed on her head. Target, Eve Maro. Price, $5 million. She smiles faintly. Because her story, it's far from over. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Ballerina, hit that like button and subscribe for more killer stories from the world of John Wick. Until next time, stay sharp.